So I did my first engine build on my own when I was, I think, 14 years old. And like, this is coming from a background that is nothing to do with cars.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot to start recording when I said hello.
Yeah.
So
hello again.
no, it's fine. We'll carry on. I think I got most of the engine build stuff. We'll just carry on. That's my mistake. So the start will be a bit funny. Okay. So once you've built the engine and gotten the kind of power that you want, how do you make the rest of the car handle that? Because obviously the standard braking and suspension isn't going to perform the same as it would do from the factory.
Yeah, of course. Like, you have to think about everything, and this is just an engine development question that I answered. So what you have to do is just, the thing I do myself is, before I put any more power, I prepare the car for the power it's going to have. So suspension, braking, like everything that I see it's needed to be upgraded in order to handle the performance better, it's done before I put more power onto the car. Like, the good thing about working with BMW is a great platform. So most BMWs will handle more power than what they bring out of the factory, you see. So it's a great benefit. And the other thing is, for example, on the 116, our 2-liter one, demo car, all we've done in terms of braking was we use the brakes out of the 130i, which are more than capable, you see, so you can exchange things like that. In terms of suspension, of course, then it's all personal preference. Like, we fitted coilovers and our one adjust it our way, but like that's other aspect that is really important to do. But that platform has very good suspension. Of course, it's not perfect for the circuit use, but they are good, you see, so it works well.
Yeah. So you said that, you know, you've started with BMW and they've got a great platform. How did you then move into working on Porsche?
It came from before. When I was, well, I'm Portuguese. When I was in Portugal, I used to build RSRs, so it's the proper racing Porsches. And most of my engine tuning knowledge came from there, because we used to get the base engine and we used to have to turn it into an RSR engine. And once again, it all depends on what spec it's going to be used on. If it was a rally engine, if it was a race engine, if there was limitations on the class, it all has to be done like that. And this is one of the reasons why when I develop something, I don't go just like for the biggest I can do, it's the best. No, because it's not the way it has to be done. It has to be done in stages, so you give your customer an option of what he wants to do. I always had a massive love for the Porsche brand. You know, like, I think any petrol head likes a Porsche. And I bought my first one a few years ago. It was a 944, but it wasn't what I wanted. Because it wasn't the flat six. You know, I had to have a flat six in my life.
Yeah, a proper Porsche.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the one that made me really like Porsche is that most people say, it's not a proper Porsche. It is, which is Voxer. So my first decent flat six car was a Voxer S. Okay, and I still have it today. And to me, is one of the greatest driving cars of all time. So I went from a Z3 to that, and the step is so big. It's such a it's a different car. It's a far more serious car. But the thing is, the performance on it, it's a 986, wasn't great to today's standards. Like, it was okay. Like, I knew the balance was there. It's a Porsche, so you know everything is well thought of. They focus quite a lot on the balance of their cars. But I wasn't totally happy about the way it felt and drive. So then I started studying the car itself, the engine, and I ended up doing a fair amount of work to it. So then what I ended up was with an amazing car, like a proper weapon, like the engine, even not making a lot of power, it's very quick. Like at the moment it's pushing around 290 brake. But because the car is extremely light, it's very quick. In terms of suspension geometry, I changed quite a lot of it because they are really, really down to be understeered from the factory, so they are safe. Now my one doesn't have that problem anymore. I got wider track on the front. Of course, now I have different wheels all around, proper suspension. I've done one of my setups on it. And as you know, like I do quite a lot of race car stuff, so I think I'm capable of fully setting a car. So I done my setup on it, and like everyone that has been on it, we had also the pro race driver Ricardo Sanchez testing the car for me, and the first thing he said to me when he came out of the car was, "I want one." And having someone with his level of driving and knowledge about how a car should be like to come out of a car and say that, I think that's quite a compliment to have.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And didn't he ask you to do a BMW for him, a 318?
Yeah, that's how we met. Like he has a 318 IS and he's 30. It was like this was a funny one because like he started talking to me via email. At the time, I didn't know who he was, and I'm not the greatest person with email either, so I'm not one of those that I just read a basic email. I don't read like Ricardo Sanchez like he had and whatever he was. I didn't read that. I just read the email and kept on answering. One of the times I was just going through the emails to find an email he sent me, and I read something on the bottom that was like, hold on, this I never had an email sign and that said something else like involving it. Let me see who he is. Because there's Nissan official race driver, things like that. I'm like, no. So I started searching for his name and I realized he was a pro GT3 race driver. So, like, that was funny. And the funniest thing of all was at the time he was talking to me. This is pure coincidence, I couldn't believe it. He was racing in Barcelona on the McLaren Championship. And I was on holiday in Barcelona as well. So that was very funny. Which was good, you see. Then he asked for the work. He was in Mexico and he bought the car in UK because he was going to move to UK. Before he even met me in person, the car came to me. He wanted a full rebuild on the engine, all that nonsense, blah, blah, blah. Like the car came to me and I said to him, I advise him on what to do. So I could have easily sold him a full engine build and stuff like that. I didn't. I went on to him and I said, they don't really need it. The engine feels good. The problem he had at the time was timing chain issue. And I said, just rebuild that part and you'll see the engine is going to be fine. These engines are strong, I told him like what I know about it. And I think by starting it like that, it just worked well because he started trusting me instantly. Because he knew like I was not there just for the money of it. I wanted just to do the right job for him. Like I'm genuinely like that. I do what it needs to be done. If it doesn't need to be done, I'll advise the customer it's not needed, and then I'll let the customer decide what he wants to do. And because of that, I think that has been one of the reasons like the business has worked well, because people nowadays just leave the cars with me and say what you have to do, and they don't worry because they know I'm not going to take them for a ride or anything. And with Ricardo, then it went to another level that he started spending more time with me, and then we ended up building a friendship which we have nowadays, which is I think it's great. Ricardo is on the level he is on driving. He has a lot of achievements and all that, but he is a very humble person. He's really I met many race drivers, pro race drivers, and I know some of them can be quite big-headed about it, but he's just like a normal bloke, just like me and you. You know, just he doesn't act upon what he achieves. He just lives his life. That's it. Simple. And I really can deal with people like that as well. So it's easy. You know, he doesn't overcomplicate things. He's very professional on his job as well. So he also gives tuition to my customers when it's needed. And all the feedback from everyone has been really great. Everyone loves to work with him. He's the guy to work with, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I remember I was watching one of the Porsche races before the F1 races. I was looking down the grid. I was like, "Oh, that's Ricardo Sanchez. I know that. I know of that person." And it's through you. I was like, "Oh, but he's got the car for him." And has he apart from your Boxster, has he test driven any of your other cars?
Oh yeah. The thing is, he knows him and other race drivers have driven, and everyone, they say when the cars come that you've done it, we know it's Bruno because they have they feel a certain way. Like I know the way I like a car, and I'm quite fussy about the handling of a car, and I focus as much as I can on handling because that's ultimately what gets you to go fast is the speed you can carry around the corner. So when he drives, we have as well James Ford, which you know, which is our test driver. Every time he drives a car that we've done, he knows straight away we've done it. You got the case of Z1 that it was undrivable or this, that, the other. I spent a week with the car, and you see their reactions at runs how they were. So
yeah,
it's one of those things. I take a lot of pride and time on making the ultimate setup, and I make the setups to my customers what he wants. And as I say, that when Ricardo Sanchez gives tuition to, let's say, my customers, the cars are set by me. So I use this feedback as well to improve the cars. And like having someone at his level telling me like what I need to do on the car, it's great. But there's like, because of all the experience I have from all the weenie race cars that I built in the past, like it's the improvements now are baby steps. It's very small and sometimes can be very frustrating because it's very easy to go back. So we try something new and it might go back a little bit, but then we gotta start looking at it on another way and try to move it forward again. And this is, I think, the hardest part on it, and that requires a lot of time, So learning curve goes up, and then all of a sudden just stabilizes. And then you have to be careful not to start dropping, just base all yourself on what you achieved and how you made it to carry on from there. You see, so now going back to the Porsche, that's something I want to use on the Porsche team. You see, we've done the Boxster, we done for us, it's our demo car. We're now developing a 997 as well, Carrera 2, which is already strode to 3.9, but we're going to start developing plenum exhausts and stuff like that, like the main thing from the outside, like bolt-on kits. And then we're going to go back, revisit the engines, and then we do some proper BDS stuff on it once the BMW list of development is done.
Nice. Yeah, you said earlier, any petrol head loves Porsche, and I think a confession to make is that I didn't like Porsche to start with, because you'd see them everywhere in a city, and it'd be a guy in a suit. It's like, oh, they just got their first like pay rise or their first bonus, and the first thing they do is get a brand new Porsche.
Right.
Like you just see them everywhere. But then a few years ago, a family friend of mine took me out for a drive in his GT3 RS. It's pearl white. He had a big wing on the back of it. He'd got custom-made carbon paddle shift for it. And yeah, that thing was fast. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. And it was the naturally aspirated as well. So all engine sounded absolutely amazing. And that's when I was like, okay, no, if you get a serious Porsche, they can be really good. So, and then I started seeing the more like, the race versions of Porsches. I'm like, okay, I respect and appreciate that rather than the ones that are being driven around the city at 20 miles an hour by by some city slick person.
No, it's one of those things I say to everyone. You don't like a Porsche on the first day, you start loving it as the days go by. It's with the Boxer, that's exactly what happens. The more you drive it, the better it feels. And I'm saying like the Boxer, it's just an example. All the others, I had Carrera 4S, I had a 997 Turbo S, which I think you've seen when we were at Bedford. That car I was driving. We had the Boxer. Now we have the 997 Carrera 2. Like, they're all very special. And to be honest, the faster one is one I like less, which is the Turbo S. Because it's more a cruiser than it is a sports car. It's a proper sports car, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the Carrera. It has already, I don't know how to call it. It's seriously fast, but I think it's almost too fast for the road. It's not almost, it's too fast for the road. That thing, you take your eyes off the clock and you will be doing 3 digits in no time. It's just silly quick. But at the same time, because it's that quick, you don't enjoy it as much. So it's a car that requires to drive it like it's too fast for the road on the aspect. If you want to enjoy it, well, you shouldn't anyway, because that's why there's racetrack. But if there's a B road you want to take it to, it's like, it's a car that is so comfortable with itself. Like, you have to drive it really on its limit to start having some fun. And the problem is, driving that car on the limit, you end up driving it extremely fast. I had more than one occasion, but fair more than one occasion with passengers that I took for a drive, that we end up with 4 wheels off the ground quite a few times. and like going once into a corner, like we came out of the corner, there was a hump, and I was with my foot on the throttle, and we ended up coming out of the corner doing a wheelie, and the front was completely in the air. So the passengers didn't like it much. But as I said,
that's proper understeer, isn't it? Then.
But it's like the thing is, we're already on a straight line, but it's just coming out of the corner with the front wheels both off the ground. It's a weird sensation. Like, to me, it's alright. Like, I knew it was going to land anytime, but it's just the passenger wasn't too comfortable. He came out of the car, he could barely walk, but that's a different story for another day. But as I said, the car is almost too capable, and to have fun on a car, you have to have the right balance between power and handling. So the car handles really well, but for it to be engaging, for it to drive it on a sporty manner, you really have to go really to the next level of driving, which I think it should be used on road anyway. That is the thing. Like, when you get now onto the Boxer, it's more accessible. You know, it's just everyone can get one. It's perfect. You know, the balance of it, mid-engine. You know, it's a Porsche. That's it. There's no bad Porsche. There is one, 924, but you know, even that one has a great handling, great chassis. So it's one of those. Porsche is Porsche. It's not like I'm seriously I just see BMW and Porsche now. I have other cars. I have Fiat. I have Honda. I have Toyota. It's Mazda. But for ultimate driving pleasure, it has to be a BMW or a Porsche. There's no other way around it.
Yeah. So I've got 2 questions. One, so you said the Porsche Boxster is the best driving experience. Like, if you're a driver and you want to feel everything, like, that's the best one. I've also heard the same thing about the Z3.
Yeah.
So, and you've driven both. Which one do you think is the better platform out of the 2?
They are so different that we shouldn't even be comparing them. The Z3, I say to everyone, it's just pure joy. That's where I look at it. That car is so much fun to drive. And it's fun not because it's a good car. It's fun because it's not all that efficient as a chassis, but because of the way it feels. I love the fact that you are sitting right on the back axle. The way you feel the car turning in, the way you feel the car starting to rotate, the whole feel about the Z3. Like, to me, in terms of having fun on a car, the Z3 takes the prize. It's just what it is. Now, in terms of car itself, if you want something more serious, the Voxer is just it's a leap. I cannot tell you the jump it is because it's uncomparable. The Z3, it's very basic compared to a Porsche Boxer. It's very, very basic in terms of feel, precision. A Porsche is a proper tool. Z3, it's a toy. You understand? It's like you have a toy, something that you want to play with, then you have something that you want to be serious about. It's like the playground car is Z3, the business car is a Porsche. It's the way I look at it. Like that's why I say they are very different. It's two different types of car. Even the Z3M cannot rival the Boxer. Like, people can go against what I just said, but this is the truth. In terms of chassis, it just cannot. It doesn't have the things to do it. It's no. But Z3, as I said, I love them to it. And I think Z3, the older they get, the prettier they look. It's just such a sexy car to look at.
Yeah.
You know? And in terms of looks, I also prefer the Z3 to the Boxer. I think the Z3 looks a lot nicer.
Yeah, no, I've not driven a Boxer, but obviously I've got a Z3, and every time you sit in it, it's so much fun to drive.
It's pure fun. It is pure fun. Even on the championship cars that I've driven, Z4, Z3, you've seen last time where it runs. Everyone that went out on that Z3 came out with a massive smile out of it.
Yeah.
Z4, not as much.
Apart from Jamie, who was driving the Z3 but shifting it about 1,000 RPM too soon. And he was thinking, exactly. why isn't it running properly?
Because before getting another 1,000 RPM. That's the thing about having the 4 forces. Even when they are tuned, it will always be a small engine, so they need to be raised to make the power. But it's really rewarding. They sound amazing when you start revving them. It's just fun. It's a different driving style. Like with the Z3, you drive it by the scruff of its neck. You just go and push it as hard as you can. Then it's so rewarding. You come out of it. It's regardless. Like, you know, the guy that bought that car, he had some serious weapons, like some serious programs. And he still came out of that car that has a third of the power most of these cars have. And he still came out with a massive smile. He couldn't stop going round and round and round. Did you see this?
Yeah.
So that shows how much fun there is, because like it's not easy for someone that is used to have to drive cars with 600 HP plus to jump on something that has 170 and that's fun, because the car will always feel slow and people get bored of it. He never got bored. That shows how good the car is in terms of having fun. It's really good.
Yeah, I guess with those cars, like especially the lower horsepower cars, but the Z3s, you get that reward from carrying the momentum around a whole lap. Whereas, you know, with a 600 horsepower car, you get it around the corner and the fun is flooring it down the straight, which is completely different.
Yes. Exactly. It's a completely different thing. And that's, you see what many people think that more power is better, and this is the pure proof. It isn't.
Yeah.
Especially on a racetrack. It's nothing about power. It's all about balance. But now they should be a bit more fun with the extra power they're going to have. So they're going to be around 180 bhp now, which is like when I started working on them, they had 160. Now they're going to have 30 bhp more than what they had before, and that should make them very, very competitive.
Yeah, I mean they were already battling with the 2.2 Z4s quite well, you know, getting ahead of them. So with an extra lump of horsepower, yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they end up in the field.
They're going to be battling with the 3 liters because I've seen that already. Like I can tell.
So on tracks like Cadwell, do you think that they'd be like qualifying in between the 3 liters?
Oh yeah. If it's proper driven, I have no doubt at all. But the thing is, there's only going to be 2 this year, and like they are good drivers, people that are driving them, but it's not like a top driver. So, and that's what ultimately determines where the car can land. So let's say if we put like a proper experienced driver behind the wheel of one, it would be really hard work for the 3 liters to be ahead on track like Cadwell, Brandon, Indy, even Truxton. I found Truxton, it's quite amazing because it's a very fast track, but it's fast corners. So it only has a very long straight, and like the Z3, the 4-cylinder, can carry quite a lot of speed through the corners, as you know. And it's more comfortable doing it than the heavier Z4. So I think it's going to be a bit of fun to watch. To be honest, I'm quite excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm as well. The season's going to start soon, and like the thing is, we've got the Z3 drivers are probably a little bit more experienced or on the same level as some of the 3 liter drivers. So it'll be, you know, I know you said to have someone at a really high level will put the Z3 ahead of the 3 liters, but even with the levels that we have, I think it'll be quite a good mix. And if one of the 3 liters have a bad day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like the 3 liter is an amazing car. Like on Z1, I driven it, I felt it, and we now have a completely different suspension. As you know, like we've changed quite a lot of the suspension to improve the car. But it's all about that turning in that 3 liters will never have. You see, they have the acceleration out of a corner. They always have more torque available and all that. But again, as I said on the track, it's all very different from what the people experience on the road.
Yeah. So the second question I wanted to ask you.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the second question I wanted to ask you about some of the things you said, the Carrera, the Porsche Carrera, a lot of, well, I don't know if it's like very true, but I've heard a lot of people, especially Porsche enthusiasts, say that the Carrera is out of the factory made less or made not as good as the 911. Well, because it has the potential to be better than the 911, but because the 911 is the flagship of Porsche from the factory, they don't want it to be better. Do you think that, you know, have you found that with the Carreras, and then have you worked on the Carrera and made it like its full potential?
I think that you got a misconception there. The Carrera and 911, they are the same car.
No, not the Carrera. I think is it the Cayman then?
The
Sorry.
No. The Cayman and the Vodka.
Yeah.
The Cayman, yeah. Like I've been around brands on the same day on a Cayman GT4 and on a 997 GT3. And the Cayman is superior. So what Porsche has done, they dial them down so it's not faster than the Carrera. So, and you can see like it's physics, it's pure physics. I love Porsche and I love the fact that the engine on the back and they made it work. But that's not really what made me love them. It's the way they feel and how they make things. They use all that knowledge to make something that people said it's impossible work, and it really works. Like there's no one that can say it doesn't work. And one other thing that the Carrera is always going to have as an advantage: traction out of a corner. You have to experience. Well, you experienced already the GT3. The traction they can have out of a corner is mind blowing. The way a Porsche puts power down is ridiculous. The way they can launch off a corner They do it like no other car. And that's purely because the engine is on the back. Now, in terms of balance, a mid-engine car is always going to have the advantage. And there is the reason why the new 991 RSRs and the 992, which is already on testing, they are mid-engine. They're not rear engine anymore. And that's because to keep up with the level that things are going, Porsche really have to do it. They have to go mid-engine. Like, there's no denial, like, it's a known fact. Mid-engine is the way to go in terms of balance. So otherwise, Formula One cars would be mid-engine.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ultimate performance on circuit thing. So you see, it's one of those things which is absolutely true. Even when the Voxer came out, the Voxer S is really restricted from factory because even still, as it is, it can easily keep up with the standard 3.6 Carrera if it's both gas proper driven. Like, they had to tune them part of it, so they weren't faster because it wouldn't be fun for someone, by the top of the range, but the lower range is faster, so people will get confused. Like, it wouldn't be fun. It's the same as, like, you buy an M5 or because you want it to be better than the MC, but then all of a sudden the MC was faster, so you would end up on a quite confusing place, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It would be like, why? You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, but in the same way, they build the M3 and then the M5. It's not like they build the M5 and then go, oh, we'll release the M3, which has potential to be better than the M5, but we'll just make it worse.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true, but I just use it as a reference point. I can tell you some other manufacturer that done similar. And this goes back to when I was in the Radicals. SR1s and SR3s. SR1 is a much lighter car than the SR3. Even with a lot less power, they had to put it on the radial tires to be slower than the SR3. So when they started testing it with Ian Flux, and very much like reference to him, it's someone that I know quite well as well. We got quite a nice relationship, me and Ian. You know Ian Flux is? He used to drive Formula 3, then he did BTCC, so a proper race driver as well, renowned race driver. And I was talking to him once, and because he's the current Radical development driver, and he said to me, on the beginning, they had to find a way to make them slower because they were faster than the SR3. And again, that wouldn't be fun. So you buy the cheaper one that is faster than the other one. So they had to put different tires on it. Naturally, it's radial tires on in order for it to work.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, it's like it happens. It's like it didn't happen. It was not intended to be as good. That's what I say. They didn't mean to make it as good. It just happened.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Radicals must be obviously completely different machinery to the BMWs and the Porsches, especially with all the aero that you're working with. Yeah. How do you go about setting up a race car like that?
It was a big learning curve there, because at the time, like we've done 2 years in a row, and the second year, the car we done won the championship. The first year, I call it was learning year. And the hardest thing for me was the fact that I never driven the car, so I had no clue how it felt. So I was trying to work from the feedback of the driver, but because I never experienced it, which is like, to me, it's a bit of a problem. I couldn't really understand. I improved the car, I made it better and stuff, but I could never understand exactly what it was. Then at the end of the season, we've done a great job. We finished all the races. We finished 9th overall on the first year, which, like, for me was okay. Like, it was still not top 10, not ideal, but it was our first year racing as well. Because it went well, like the car never missed a bit and everything went well. The owner of the car decided to do a track day that was just Radicals on, and to let me drive the car for as long as I wanted. So I used that day, to the best of my knowledge, in terms of driving and learning the car. And after that was I completely started looking at it in a different way. And the following year took us to win the championship. So that can show like the difference of me understanding a car to not seeing what it is like. Because a car like that, it's not set the same way as a saloon. The car doesn't have the same feel of a saloon. You cannot drive it as you drive a saloon. You drive it on a completely different manner. And so it just, I had to learn it. I didn't know what it was. And it's almost like it's a big go-kart that carries a lot of speed through the corners. It's madness. The way that thing goes around corners is completely madness. So you have to learn how to work with it, you see. So they are very sensitive to small changes because they have high-speed cornering advantage because of all the downforce that they have. And that's something I had to adapt myself to start working on that. That's the way I understood it. Driving them, it's an experience, but for someone that's just used to saloons, that they drive one, they will understand what I mean. But it is great fun. But you can tell they are pretty serious. They are made to do that. That's it. You can see it's a fully dedicated tracker. It's not like you're driving a saloon that you made it go quicker on the track. No.
Yeah.
It's a dedicated race car. You drive and you feel it's really made to do that. It's very different.
Is there any way to make like a Z3 or a Boxster or whatever? Is there any way to make a car like that close to a fully built race car that would feel as if it came from the factory as a race car?
It is, but you'll be looking at no limits on budget. Everything is possible. So, but by the time it gets close, it's not the same car anymore. That's the way you have to look at it. Even like the world touring cars, they're nothing like the road car. It's so different. Even in the 90s, they already differences. People
don't know. So it's things that people have to get their head around. It's possible. It's expensive.
Yeah, you don't want to jump in, buy a car and go, right, let's make it a race car. You do it bit by bit and kind of class by class as you improve the car and, well, I guess the driving as well.
Yeah, the driving it's a different experience. It's a different level.
Yeah.
Oh, so a different level.
So I remember when we were at Brands and you were testing the cars. One of the things you said is that you can tell a person's driving style by the way that their steering input is, and you can see that from outside the car. So, how can you do that? What are the like telltale signs of a certain driving style?
It's well, most people will, if they pay attention. The thing is, it comes with experience. After seeing, you gotta like. I've been doing race cars, like fully dedicated race cars, since 2013. We are now 2020. It's not many years, but I've done quite a lot of cars. I've seen many drivers, and with time, you start understanding their driving styles, and then you just see the way the car is sitting when they turn the car in, the way they brake. You start reading their driving style. Then to make it even more, how you call it, precise, all you have to do is go and read their tires. So tires say a lot of what's going on. And it just, you can tell when the car is on the track, you have to see the corner angle and the steering input. And not only look at the wheel from the outside, you look at more to the inside wheel. And that also tells you how well the car is set. So the way it sets itself on a corner while cornering, the way it comes out of the corner, the way it enters, it's not as relevant because it's just the initial turning in. Most cars will always have that, will always turn in, but holding itself on a corner, then that's a different story. Now, you see the way a car turns in, it's all to do with input of the driver, the way he does with the steering wheel. And then you see the way the car progresses through. And of course, you can start reading the driving style. And then you start adjusting the car to the driving style of the driver. And sometimes you have to tell the driver to change his driving style a little bit, which might happen. So, because it starts to, when you have long races, like they are going to have now with the track day trophy, they are going to enter, like degradation, it plays a big role. So they will have to change the driving style. It's I know drivers I'm going to have to tell to dial it down a bit, otherwise it's not going to work. And with the tires they are using at the moment, they aren't the best for 40-minute format races.
How do you go about trying to save tires in a longer race?
It's again driving style. You have to be very smooth. Being smooth, it's ultimately you're going to be faster. Like a driver that is very aggressive, he will be good on qualifying and let's say a 50-minute race. He will not be good on a 40-minute race or endurance. You need to be, let's say on a race you should never be comfortable. But what I mean is like consistent. Consistency is key. But of course, find a pace where you have a strong pace, but you can still manage to be consistent, because it's pointless for you to be very fast for a lap or two, and then just the third lap you just overcook on a sector, and then you lost a second in just one sector. That just spoiled the 0.3 seconds you gain on the other laps. They're just gone. So that is the thing. That's why like consistency is key, and on endurance racing it's really, really, really important.
Have you done a lot of any endurance racing yourself?
No, as a driver, no. But I've done Burkett a few times. I've done it last year under immense range. A few years ago, we had the 318 that won in class. Then same driver hasn't done it again. But I mostly do, well, so far I did mostly 40-minute format races. So I did some sprint when I was in the Como Cup. It was all sprint because it's a 20-minute race. We used to do 2 of them. But then after that, 3 years in a row, I was doing the CSCC and the Intermarché AMOC Championship. So it's that's where the thing comes from, and that's why I know quite a lot about. I learned a lot about tires and the right tire for endurance, and in setup as well. And of course, then you have to going all round. So you set a car for sprint differently from a car you set to do like a 40-minute race or a 2-hour race. It has to be done completely differently.
Yeah, so you're getting a lot of driving and race time as well in between all the engine building and car building.
Quite a lot of driving. Like this year before lockdown, you see the tracks only open like end of February, and I've done like 4 weekends in a row just on track testing. This is to prepare for the race season, but like I'm not racing myself. I'm just building the cars. Of course, I drive them on test days and stuff because I need to see where they are. And mostly, I don't drive them to set any lap records or anything. I drive them to feel where the car is, and only like at the end of the day, I will try to do something decent with the car to see if the setup is really spot on. Yeah. So what I do when I drive a car to feel it on the track, I sort of have to behave on an odd way to simulate things that can happen, or when you are under a lot of pressure, like an odd breaking point, because that's almost as important as it is to have the car set right to go around the bend. It's like if you have a car that when you're turning in, you just have to brake out of a spite on some place you wouldn't brake normally. If the car behaves on an unusual way, it might be enough for it to cause you to spin or even throw the race away. So I have to make sure the car is never going to have that behave in any point. It's always going to be readable. Whatever is happening, you will always be able to feel what's going on and therefore drive the cars through. And I think that is the characteristics of the car I make or I set, is they are extremely predictable. It might not be the fastest setup you can get. I know that for a fact, but it's the one that is going to allow these drivers that I'm working with to do their fastest lap times. For example, if I want to set a car to Ricardo to drive, I will have a far more aggressive setup, only because he has the experience to understand what the car is going to do, because he's used to drive at a completely different pace.
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't think about that when you're doing the testing for the car. You're not testing it for part of it. You're testing it for getting it on the perfect racing line, the perfect braking point, and seeing how it performs. But then you're
It's
also
exactly
doing, then you're doing the opposite, which is seeing if everything goes wrong, more or less. How does it handle, and how can you make it so that you can save it?
Yeah. You see, I'll give you a good example. When we went to the first time I went with Z1, so the black Z4, to Brands, I driven the car at the end of the morning to see where it was, or mid-morning. I cannot be precise now. And I came and I went to speak to both race drivers, so Jamie and James. And I told them the car is going to be understeery when you start driving it on the limit. I told them everything the car was going to do. On the first hour of driving in the afternoon, the three drivers, so Callum included, drove the car, and all the three drivers came to me saying what I said to them in the morning that they didn't experience. That only shows the way I was testing it, I was to find where it is. You see, so I need to place the car on a certain way to provoke. So you need to provoke the car a bit more. Of course, you still have to go fast. But you start driving it on an odd manner. I can drive it on a proper race line, but that's not going to teach me anything, because at the end of the day, I'm there to develop the car. So I have to provoke scenarios that it's not first thing is going to happen, but it's a possibility of it to happen. And so the car has to be still a good car to drive around unexpected circumstances, you see. So this is key on a long race to happen, because they will happen. Those situations are going to come, and you want to have a car that is capable to go around it.
Yeah, I mean, because when you're racing, you're not always going to have the racing line. If you're overtaking or defending, you're going to have to do completely different things than what is perfect.
Yeah, of course, and that's why it's called racing. And a good race car is not one that sets the fastest lap time. It's the one that does the race and wins.
Yeah.
It also has to be fast and competent, but that's really important to have a car that you see where it is. So that's why there's a lot of communication between me and the race drivers while we're developing, because I want to see what they tell me and go with what I felt of the car. And generally, what I feel most of the times is they are too soft on explaining me what the car handles like. I'm too if it's bad, it's really bad to me. It's I go really. I driven the Z4 Coupe at Brands when that same day you were there, and you saw how upset I was after driving, because I said, you guys have to tell me better, give me better feedback, because I drove the car and it's appalling to drive, and you guys just said it wasn't that good, but it's really bad. That it's the truth, I have a standard set that has to be met, and if it's not the standard I want, it's not a good car. And it shows the Z4 Coupe, the first race it ever done, it had a podium straight away. So it all shows it's from the experience I had. It's not because I'm better than the others. I just try to find every single detail I can and go and try to negotiate with it. And then other thing I always do, I set the car for the driver that is going to drive it. If he's a very experienced driver, I'll set it one way. If it's slightly unexperienced driver, I'll set it another way. If it's inexperienced, I will set it very safe, because end of the day, I want the car to finish the race. It's more important to me to have the car finishing the race and have a car that is quick but doesn't finish it. It's DNF, you know. In all these years I've been racing, I never had a DNF. So it's like, to me, that's very important. Or sorry, I had one DNF. And that's another story as well that comes down to this, that I set the cars for drivers. A few years ago, with I think 5 years ago, Cup. I used to set, like on the class D, which is the 318 class, two drivers, James Ford and Giuseppe Calari. Like they were both driving cars that I set. Both competent drivers. Giuseppe was more inexperienced, but he had, you know, he's one of things. It's some people are natural, and he was natural. He was a natural good driver, and I set the car up to him on a very grippy way. So I said to him, careful when you ride the curves. Don't override the curves. Just look after it, watch your lines, be smooth with it. The problem is it wasn't that smooth. And in one of the corners, he didn't turn in that smooth, and he went over a curve as well. That ended up with him coming out of the other side of the corner with the car on its roof. So yeah. I didn't enjoy that much, because I told him, be careful, because it's said to be very, very grippy. That I knew that was it was possible, but I expect a good race driver to follow the instructions I'm giving the same way they give me instruction, and I follow it. So we have to do teamwork. It's very important. You see, that was an unfinished race because bad use of a setup. You see, this is exactly why you have to learn how to set a car. And like, that was a big lesson to me, just to focus more on their driving style than what I tell them to do. So, because most times the race driver is not good. He's going to drive the way he knows how to drive best. And so you have to do the setup for that. That's it. Yeah.
Do you think that you have an advantage when you're setting up the car, but you're also driving it as well? Because let's say in Formula One, they have the mechanics don't go anywhere near the car; they're not driving it at all, and it's all from the driver's feedback. And obviously, they're feedbacking it at such a high level, but it's not the same as being able to sit in the car, feel what it's feeling, and then set it up.
No, but it's to do with the way you how do you say, you learned your things as well. It's I'm one of those persons, I have to feel something to understand it better. I know the theory behind it, and like, you can come to me, and like nowadays it's different, because I think with all the experience I have, it's easier for me to set based on feedback. Now you have to understand other thing. The feedback a Formula One race driver gives to an engineer, it's to a completely different level to a feedback I can get from just a race driver from a clubman championship. It's very different. And I've noticed that first time I went with Ricardo to a race last year. I went with not two races I went with, and I saw the way they worked. And the detail on the feedback from a pro race driver, it's crazy. You have to understand, it's crazy. The other thing is they work with telemetry as well, which tells exactly the driver input. And of course, they studied it for a long time. They know, like, they understand the slip angle of a tire, like the lean. They understand everything on a car on a different level. So they know all the theory behind it. But for example, if you would put most of them behind the wheel of Formula One, you wouldn't be able to drive it properly and to feel what the race driver is feeling. Neither would I think. Like, it's something that is very different. So they have to leave it with the driver. Like, you have to understand, like, they finish testing, all the drivers come out, they have a map with the circuit, and they ask the race driver to describe how the car felt, to write on that map, every single corner, what the car behavior was. They go study that, analyze that, put it against their inboard view and the telemetry. And then they work from there to work on the setup of the car based on what they've seen with the different tires, with everything. They have everything into account. It's not like we are just an entry level. Like, and of course, having the advantage of driving the car, to me, it's better. So I just can feel the car better, you know. I don't do it for the fun of it, because it's nice to drive a car on the track. It is, but I do it mainly with like the main focus of being able to improve the car, nothing else. It's not, do I have a lot of fun going around it? Not always. Because like I'm very precise with the car, the way it has to handle. And if the car is not to the level I want, I will get really upset with it. It will really throw me off the rails. So, because I want to make sure the car is capable. And I know if I'm pushing the car and then it starts misbehaving, I get really, really upset with it. So I just come in and then I have to improve the car. And then again, I'm just relying on the feedback from the race driver in order to improve it. It's not, I'm not relying on my driving anymore. Then when they say are fine, it's fine. Then I go out again and make sure it is exactly like as I want it to be. Like it's not unpredictable, or it's better. But like, it took quite a long time to come to this level. You know, it's not something that you're just doing it out of spite. I've learned quite a lot as well while driving them and understanding. The other thing is I have a more, how do I put it, more precise understanding of what the car is doing after setting something and then going and driving it, or having the race driver to drive it after doing something. Then I can anticipate the way it's going to feel. But this is one of those things. The more you drive it, the more you know about it. And I think I'm learning every day as the day goes by. The more races I do, the more this will be a fact. It's like, if you are on it, and you are like me, that I always seek improvement. Therefore, like, I'm always trying to get it better and better. So it never stops. But it's, as I said, it can be frustrating at times because you don't move forward. It's just you do a change and you move back, and then that's extremely frustrating for someone like me that always wants to get better.
Yeah. Have you ever made a change that initially has moved everything back a little bit, but then when you started reworking it, it's a bigger change upwards than if you had stuck on the same path?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I had changes that car went back, but once again, it comes to that point that everything has to work together. So certain changes would probably work with a different component, but doesn't work with that component. We had that, like, we didn't went that far as went massively back. We didn't went back at all. Like, we went back a little bit, like on the last one, because I was just trying something different to see if it worked, and it didn't. But then I knew exactly what I had to do. Is, for example, we changed the spring rates on the Z4s, front first and then rear. And then when you done the rear, I set the balance of the car slightly different. That was a step back, you see. So because I had stiffer spring, I moved the weight a little bit forward towards the front to try to see if the car would have a better turning in, and the weight was going to behave under braking, to see if it gained any stability or not, or something like that, just to study mainly the behavior of the car. And like, we went a bit back, we lost some traction out of the corners. The car was very stable at high speed, but low speed we didn't have traction. So that the good thing about it is, like, it worked with the previous spring rate, didn't work with that one. But that's because we have a combination of different factors. You see, that's the thing. It's like, it has to work as a package. Now, you know, it has to work with itself. So you gotta make it work within what you have, not with something that, you know, you have to change it again to make it work. You know, it's you have to. The thing is, on these club and championships, and like, not only this club and championship, most of the championships, you are very limited in what you can do. So it's one of those, like, you have to focus on trying to get the best out of what you have. while trying to improve at the same time, and sometimes can be quite a task. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got everything is meant to be the same as all the other cars, how are you going to get the best out of? Well, how are you going to get a better setup when? Oh, have we lost you? Ah, there you go. We're back. Sorry, we froze. Yeah, I guess when you're like in a spec series or all the cars, they're all meant to be the same. The setup, like getting the most out of the setup, is obviously really crucial. But if everyone's got the same components, they can set it up the same way. So finding the best way to set it up was obviously, it's pretty difficult to find the ultimate performance from it. But obviously, it's going to be crucial.
Yeah, of course, it's extremely important, and it's really hard. Is the the thing is, on the radicals, it was really hard because, like, if you see, like, I'm working against radical works team, and then you put myself as an individual try to work against a works team. It was very hard, and the other thing is you get a lot of hate as well, which is you have to let go of it. You have to learn how to deal with it. Like, we had a case in Snetterton where we got disqualified we done the qualifying, but we got disqualified because we didn't give them the serial numbers before we entered qualifying. Now, bear in mind, we did qualifying, we didn't change tires or anything, and we had all the tires serial numbers with us to give to the radical team as we come into the assembly area again, so they could have it. So there was no tire change, nothing. And we still got disqualified because they said we should have gave them the tire numbers before. And we only done it this way because on the first race at runs, that's exactly the way they told us to do. So when you finish qualifying, just bring the tire numbers. And then, we got disqualified. We started at the bottom of the grid, so it was that day was 17th place. Both races we finished in first. Radical being radical, they took the car in and they stripped everything they could out of the car to see if the car was legal. And that day I was there just sitting and watching and laughing because I knew I haven't done anything illegal on the car. So, but it was quite a fun event. And then they say they want to make the race as fair as possible. And this is something that comes down a bit to politics and the way a manufacturer sees a single thing. It's that, for example, all the cars had a not normal, like one of those gearboxes up back and like to go down in gear, you go forward. And then they introduce the flappy gears, so you change gears on the steering wheel on the flaps. Now, any race driver knows this is an advantage, serious advantage. It's not going to make the ultimate difference, but it makes a difference. It will easily gain 3 to 5% in lap times. Yeah. There's no way around it. And they say, well, we want to make racing as fair as possible, but we introduced this. So what they did was, if you have an extra, let's say $8,000, I think it was, you could have them. Therefore, if you had $8,000 to spend, you would have an advantage. That will give it is an advantage.
Oh yeah.
It's like we didn't have it in our car, and the driver didn't want to do it because it's like it's $8,000. It's quite a bit of money to spend. But you see, it's like, so they want to make it fair, but they offer this. So which means if you have more money than the others, or you are willing to pay $8,000 to have this, you have an advantage in your side. So suddenly there's people that have some money that were midfield that start going to the upper places just because they've done that change. Because to an experienced driver, that's a massive help. Because you can always keep both hands on the steering wheel at all times, which is easier for someone that is learning, because they can be more precise. But on a pro race driver, like, it's always noticeable, but it's more noticeable on someone that is less experienced, you see. because he has less to do. There's less to think about, you know. So well, it's one of those things. It's just the politics out of it.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult because you try, I guess, from Radical's side, they're trying to improve the car and
Yeah.
trying to, you know, this is the next stage of technology that we can offer you, and
I understand that.
yeah, and it'll be
They,
at a price that obviously isn't as expensive when it first came out, but it's still whoever can buy it is basically paying to get better performance, and those who are left behind, they get left behind, and it's not representative of a spec series, then, is it?
No, it's the thing is they want to make the cars all as equal as possible, and then they offer that. To me, that's a bit like, come on, really? So you're giving, if the person has money, can have better performance. So, and if I want to do something that is smaller than that, I cannot, because it's not them. They're not making any money out of it. Because there were ways to improve the radicals, like the ones I worked on. There were ways, but we couldn't do it. It's like it was a no.
Well, changing the tires for one, right?
It was illegal. Yeah, like the thing is, the tires were numbered, so we were only allowed 4 sets of tires per championship. So that's one. Like it's all right. We can go around it, but if we could have more tires, like it would be better lap time, especially because they were radials. The other thing is you couldn't change their ratio like on the cars, and there was one race at Snetterton where one of the cars needed because you know they are bike engines, so they have a chain. It's not prop shaft or nothing, so it's driven by a chain, the same way as a motorbike. And they gave me the sprockets, and I just pull one out and put the other ones in. And there's the driver takes the car out, and he came back in and saying, "I'm hitting the rev limiter in 6 around Bentley Straight. What's going on?" And accelerating away from the corners, I can keep up with the SR3s now. So I'm like, something is right. So I went to count the teeth on the sprocket, and they have different teeth. That was illegal as well. But that was not our fault. That was their fault. They messed up. They gave me the wrong gear set. They gave me the gear set for the SR3s. So you see, it's one of those things that it's like they could have done it differently, but it's the way they wanted to do it. But like, it's an advantage. They don't want to give it. They will only sell an advantage. That's the way I see it. So it's a commercial point of view. It's the commercial point of something that gets me a bit, not frustrated or upset. It's just a bit like, well, it's not right, but it's the way things go anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if everyone had exactly the same car. That's, you know, pure racing, as people put it. But yeah, it's not always possible. So how did you start getting into working on cars and getting into race teams and setting up cars and stuff like that?
That dates to a long time ago. So I always had a passion for cars. That I didn't know where it came from, because no one in my family, to what I know, has passion for cars. No one, not my dad, not my mom, obviously, not my grandfather. It's like many years ago. I'll tell you, I was 6, 7 years old. I remember this not because I remember it. It's because my dad told me this. His car had a problem. Probably I was older than 7. I was probably 8, I think. His car had a problem, and it had been to several different garages, and they couldn't find the problem. One day, there's me, like, I didn't have a clue what a spanner was. Put this way. I told him, open the bonnet. So I opened the bonnet. I took the airbox out of the car, which is a carved car at the time. And I looked at it, and I found the problem on the car. I asked him to start the car. I put my finger to plug a hole, and the car ran fine. And he went to his mechanic, which at the time was a really good mechanic, apparently. So, and he told him that I found the fault, and he told him what it was. So they replaced the part that needed replacing or fixed what it needed. And the mechanic said to him, like, I had to follow the Catherine because it was a gift I had. Then, well, this is going to shock some people, like especially in UK. I started working when I was 13 years old. This was because I was not paying any attention to the school, and my mom, as like a way of punishing me, she found a garage, and they took me in just for the summer holiday. And guess what? I didn't went back to school that year because I fucking loved it. I really, really loved it. And it started there. It happened that it was just a normal garage, but they did some race-related stuff, more Italian stuff, like Alphas. Then I went from that garage to another one that someone got me in that was better. The boss was a really, really nice man. That one that I went into, really, really willing to teach. And again, he said to me when I was young, this I remember because of course I was older, he said I had apparently a natural talent for that. So I did my first engine build on my own when I was, I think, 14 years old. And like, this is coming from a background that is nothing to do with cars. Like, I had no history with cars at all. And then, well, moving on, then a few years later, I stopped doing it because I wanted to study, to finish scholarships and stuff like that. So it's also important to finish your education, which I did. So I did a course. Years on, I started then studying engine science, really, really into its depth. I did some projects with Kingston University on their Formula Student cars because of the success I had with the radical stuff. In there, I was offered a place to teach within the Kingston University, which I didn't want because I'm all about, like, I want to do it and keep on evolving myself, making myself better, develop myself, learn more and more. So then I just kept on pushing myself, studying. I still study every day. Most people have no idea like how much time I spend studying a certain subject, because I don't want to make something better just because it can be better. I want to make it better, but I want to be able to explain how do I make it better. Now, it's I was always like this, and I think that's what landed me the job opportunity I had when I worked with the Porsche, with the RSRs. But the funny thing is, even when I was there, they used to do more race cars, not only Porsche. And the thing is, at the time I was not even related with BMW, but every time there was a BMW, they used to put it in front of me. I don't know why. So the only thing that I did that was non-Porsche and BMW was what they gave me to do as a task. So my work experience, like with not work experience, when the trial period, you know what it was? So they put all the engine bits in front of me for an engine I never seen in the past. They told me, I want you to build this engine with these specs, so the compression ratios, the port, the CFMs of the head and everything. We want you to build it to this spec. There's a week for you to do the job. And then when you do it, we want all in paper the way you got to the numbers you got. This was back home, by the way, in Portugal. In UK, it's a bit different, I think. And then we'll let you know. So there's me that week. Was really on the limit. I was so I wanted that job so badly. You don't understand, because to me that was ultimately the dream working place. I love Porsche. I love race cars. I was like, what else do I want? This is exactly what I want to be here. So of course, I've done what they asked me to do, built the engine. So on the Friday of that week, I had the engine finished by lunchtime. So then I went to see the boss, told him it was done, gave him my appointment, all the notebook, everything. Of course, during that period, they would come and check what I was doing and gave me through some other jobs, pull my head out of it to see like how well I would deal with the pressure and everything. But I've done it. So come to that end of the day, Friday, and I haven't heard a word from anyone. So like they have, I think it's because it's a different culture, a different way of working with people. We like can be very cold with people. They're like not try to please anyone. You're there because you want to, not because they want you to be there. That's almost like the way they think about it.
Yeah.
That didn't faze me at the time. So I just went to the office, knocked on the door, and I just went and asked, so I need to know what's going on, if I have a job, if I don't. And he looked at me, he looked at the time, said, why are you still here? Have a good weekend, I'll see you Monday. That was the wait for him to say that I've done the job was done, so everything was right. But there was, the thing is, that's what made me leave the place. There was no positive comment on the job. They didn't say, oh, good job, well done. Like I found in UK, when it comes to that, people tend to reward you more with words. They are warmer with words than in there. They're more pleasant. They make you feel better. They give you a tap on the back when you've done something good. When you do something bad, they tell you off. In there, you get told off when you do something wrong. When you do something good, you get no reward in terms of words. And the way I am, you see, that's my motivation. That's what drives me ultimately. You see, even nowadays, when I do a car to a customer, the ultimate pay is the happiness on the customer's face. It's not the money it pays into my bank, because money comes and goes. But making someone happy, that's different. You see, that's the most important thing to me. All the hard work I put into things is because I want to offer the best I can to the people that want to work with me. It's like, I'm not perfect, so no one is perfect, but I do the best I can in order to always make my customers as happy as they can be. You know, I go to extent most people wouldn't go. But that's all because it's the way I was brought up. You know, if I do something, I like to do it well. And as I started, I think it was implemented that on me. And but I think my nature of always wanted to be better. I always want to be a better version of myself. That's what's defining what's happening with me in the business. You know, and even like starting really early and like all the studying I've done, it just all these years, like sometimes it still feels like I haven't done nothing right. It's the genuine truth. There's those days that everything is going wrong and you think, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? You know, it's like, it's hard because I don't know how to explain really. I think you have to be a bit like me to understand. I don't know how everyone deals with their little problems, I would say, because this is not even a real problem, is when you work so hard to do something that doesn't work the first time. It's quite a setback. But you know, it's like, just keep on pushing it, you'll get it there. But you need so much motivation. And the thing is, with people I am surrounded with, they always give me motivational words. And that is why, like, I keep on doing it. Go on, that's the road is a long road, but I think we're getting on the right place. So I started really young. And it goes against most people say, I have to study, do a scholarship, all this, that. Yeah, I agree. The education, as I said, is extremely important. But I know a lot of people that are motorsport engineers with they've done their courses on the known universities and everything, and I can talk to them, and if we really start extending the conversation, I will end up on a place they have no clue what I'm talking about. They will not understand genuinely the science of what I'm talking, which is the truth. It's sad, but it's true. Which means you are capable of doing the same, and which, well, it's realized on society nowadays, because they can do courses where you study at home, but then you just do an assessment. So, but took quite a long time for, I think, society to understand that. You see, but like one problem that still exists is the conception that, oh, you really have to have a course to be someone in life. Not really. I know a lot of people that don't have any course, any sort. They did their studying, they worked really hard, and they are on a very high level. The thing is, other thing I would say to some people is, in real life, is not always as it shows in the practical side of it. And I'll give you an example. For example, if I do I'm going to put this way because it's easier for people to understand. We measure the potential of the cylinder head by the CFM it can make, right? And that's ultimately what decides the amount of power it can make. In theory, that's all nice and all works. But we got variables on it. So a CFM, in theory, a head that flows 230 CFM, let's put it this way, it will only be good to make around 240 bhp. In theory, because in the real world, you might not even get close to it, or you might go well over it. It's like the theory is only an indication, like to give you a rough idea of what can happen in real world. It's extremely important to understand it, but it's not always what happens in reality. So that's the things that people have to understand a bit. And I think it's all the practical experience I had that led me to understand that a lot better than what I did before.
Yeah.
And you see, that's why I like to study, do it. Study, do it. Study, do it. And then you get a compromise of what it does. You have then a more understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like you found what you wanted to do with your life, what you loved, and then you studied it, rather than the other way where you just studied a little bit of everything in school and then had to choose something. And you had the opportunity to experience something and you found that you loved it and then went full steam ahead with it.
Yeah, because the thing is, Alejandro, it's generally, I think it's really like that's the most important thing. You got to think, at least the way I see it is like you're going to spend more time at work than what you're going to spend doing anything else. At least in my case, that's what happens. I spend, I would say, 80% of my life is work. 80% is like all the rest is family, and maybe 3% for myself, maybe. All the time off I have, I generally use it to have a rest sometimes, or to study. But studying I do almost every day. I go deeper into a subject, This is like, I'm telling you, nearly every day. I'm not I'm not making it up. It just purely, it's not because I want to prove anything to anyone, it's for my own satisfaction. I'm addicted on knowing more about something or improving something. To me, like getting power, making more power out of an engine is an addiction. I look at it and I'm like, I want to make it better. It's like, that's my ultimate thing, is to develop something, to make it better. How can I make this better? I know this. So I go, and I study all of those things to become better at doing it. Am I the best at it? No idea. There's plenty of talented people around the world. I know a lot of talented people, very, very talented people, but each one on their own areas. Is a misconception that people have as well, that assuming someone that knows a lot is going to be very good at doing something. Not the case. Is like a doctor that's very good at school and university, he might not be really good on doing an operation. Things are different. We all, I think, have potential for something. And I think if we all search like, what are we good at doing, and just focus on doing it, most people will be a lot happier. And I think life would be easier for everyone. Because you see, there's a lot of people, they hate what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And I cannot dread to think of having to go and do a job, let's say 9 to 5, of something I don't like. it wouldn't work. It would kill me inside. And I think that's the thing. Like, you have to do what you love. You only live once. Enjoy your life while you're here. You know, I get frustrated and upset about certain things that happen around me with work. But at the end of the day, I'm still doing what I love. I'm still very fortunate to do what I do. I'm still fortunate to have the customers I have around me. I'm fortunate to be able to do what is for some the dream job. I have quite a lot of people that approach me and say I do things they can only dream of. This it makes me feel really blessed, but at the same time, I decided this. I went through things in life that I think most wouldn't endure to carry on the business the way I'm doing it. You know, it's not easy. It's a very focused type of work. It's very specific, so therefore it's hard to find a place, and there's a lot of people doing it as well. So, you know, it's all to do with passion and willing to do something. And, you know, like, everyone would be happier if they did like what they really want to do. But most time people just will do something because it's a well-paid job. That's it. All I want is a well-paid job. That's not the way I see life. You see. So it's like, the money is not going to pay the unfortunate, how do you call it, let's put the sad 8 hours at work I had. Like, money will never pay that, you know. Money doesn't buy time.
No, it doesn't. I mean,
So
on another side of it, like my Z3 cost whatever it cost, but I've put into it a lot more than it cost. But the amount of fun I've had and the amount I've learnt from it is invaluable. And that's just from that hobby side of things.
It's not, as I said, it's not the money that makes us happy. Most people don't realize that. You having more money doesn't make you better than anyone, or doesn't make you happier than anyone. Of course, money helps a lot, but it's like, you're not living out of money. No, I don't see I'm not a money-loving person. I hate money myself, to be honest. I think the world would be a better place without it, but it's something we need to have. But it's the passion is what makes us happy when we fulfill something, when we achieve something. As you know, you had your Z3, doesn't matter how much it's worth. It's like my 318, our demo car, the M44 one, white one. That car costed me £200. How much money have I spent on it? My God. Was it worth it? Every single penny. I would double it if I had to. If I could guarantee myself I would have double of the amount of fun. It's just, it's like, I don't do something, and like you are the same then. You don't do something with it's going to cost this much. I don't want to do it because it's expensive. No, if you see it's feasible to do and it's something you're going to enjoy, you do it. And that's the right way of doing things. It's like, it's not a money no object, because we don't live that lifestyle. But it's like, if we can do it, if we can afford to do it, we will do it. It's like, regardless of what the others say, we're like, why are you going to spend £5,000 on a car that costs £200 to go there, buy a new car? No. That's not the same.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that as a car enthusiast that really gets me, especially when I was growing up and people were just getting cars. You know, they'd be getting cars that cost £10,000 and it's a Corsa. It's like, come on, for £10,000, what can you buy? Like this, you could get a decent Boxster for under £10,000. Okay, so okay, insurance is a problem, but you know, a Z4, you could get so many cars, and if you have £10,000 to spend on a car, you can afford the assurance as well.
So, you know the worst. What upsets me the most, it's not even that. It's the ones that don't have £10,000. They go and do a finance on a flashy car. Yeah. Then they pay, on top of the finance, they pay like £400 or £500 a month in insurance. And I'm thinking to myself, with all that money throwing away just because to look cool or to have a status because you have a different car, what you could do in life with that, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
they don't see how much they're losing out. It just it's crazy, you know. But just because they want to look cool and have their new BMW or Fiesta or Corsa, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's like they are losing so much to what they're gaining. But the problem is they don't see it, you know. They
No.
don't see it. I was brought up on a different way, so I never had a flashy car, really. Like, and even nowadays, what do I have that is flashy? Nothing. Like, my daily driven car is a 116. So it's not, I don't like flashy cars. It's just, I like a car that I enjoy driving, nothing else. You know, you just, you know, I think it's a thing for people like us, our level. It's like we drive something that makes us happy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And it's like some people spend £400-500 on having optional extra brake calipers. I got mine for £100 and I painted them myself and put them on my car.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
Like,
It's yeah. Like, and the thing is, I'm when I do something, I'm always on a budget. So,
yeah.
and I think that's ultimately what made me so good at getting the best out of very little, because I never had a lot of money to spend on things. And now I cannot change my mind frame to now I can spend a bit more, I'll spend a bit more. I struggle to do it because I rather explore the most of whatever I have.
Yeah.
And then start upgrading it as it needs to be upgraded. And that's quite handy, because then takes you to places that you never thought you could be. And now, if all of a sudden I have quite a bit that I can do on something, I will do it wiser, because I will just not bolt bits together that I think it will work and then it doesn't. Once again, comes down to that experience you have in life of in theory it works, in practical life might not work. So you learn more with it. You enjoy it more. It has more flavor when you have it. It's, you know, it's the pleasure you get out of things
Yeah.
when you can do it.
Yeah. I remember the first time that I decided, right, I'm going to work on my car on my own now. It was, so I had a 206 and I wanted to do stuff to it, but you know, my parents were like, okay, look, it's your first car. You're driving it to school every day. Just keep it standard. You don't want to be messing about with it too much. I was like, okay, fine. So when I got my Z3, I was actually going to go to Silverstone National for a tester day. And I thought, okay, brake pads haven't been changed. I'll get all new brake pads. And took it to the garage. They changed the brake pads and they said, oh, you've also got a snapped front spring. But they charged me a lot for changing the brake pads. And I sat there watching them do it. It was screwdriver, unbolt, take off, new one, then put it back. I was like, I paid you that much money for you to do that. So I was like, right, I'm not, that's it. If I can do it myself, I'll learn how to do it. And I don't want to pay a garage to do work like that for me if I can learn how to do it. And again, like the Z3 community is amazing, because I put it up on the forum. I said, hey, I got a snap spring. What do I do? Someone said, I've got 2 springs. I'll send them to you. And then someone said, you can come to my garage and I'll help you change them. So amazing community, but I've learned how to do that. And now I've worked on other people's Z3s, helping them change their front suspension around, because I've done it on mine. And I've also learned how to do the calipers, because I upgraded mine and I've taken them off, put them on, changed the pads, done that multiple times. And it's, yeah, obviously there are some things that you can't do and you have to have specialist equipment for. If you don't have it, then you have to give it to someone else to do. But being able to work on the car, and like even upgrading the calipers, I had them sat in a box for like 6 months because I wasn't able to take them to a place where I could do them, to the garage to the Z3 guys who were helping me. And something will break on the car, and okay, wait, I could either replace it with a new part, or I can upgrade it with maybe a second-hand part that once that goes, then I can just upgrade it again or replace the upgraded part. So I'm building it very slowly, and keeping it on the road has been a challenge. Like, just lot of second-hand parts. Although I think it's met its demise for a while at least. It went through its MOT recently, and the sills they failed it on corroded sills. And there was some debate on it because, you know, how could they see that the inner sill was corroded enough when it's covered by the outer sill? Like, they shouldn't have failed it. So, all right, let's pull off the inner sill and see what it is. The front of the driver's side inner sill has a section like that long missing from the bottom. You should put your hand straight through. It just doesn't exist anymore, and the jacking point is right here. So
Okay.
that's not exactly safe to drive. But and the question is, how do you fix that? Do you cut out a section of sill and replace it? But then you've always got that welding point that's weak. So as much as like time and love I've put into the car, like the money I don't care about. I've learned so much from it that it doesn't really matter. But there's, what do I do with it now? You know, it's, unless I wait for it for 6 months to, yeah. But how do I repair it? I have to wait 6 months to save up the money to get the parts and pay someone to do it.
Well, it's another learning opportunity for you.
Yeah, it is.
You can educate yourself. Metal sheet is not expensive to buy. Okay. Now, the tricky part about it, like, this is not my area of expertise, as you know, but like, we all can do it. You know, at school we used to do the things where we do like cones and stuff with paper. You basically do the same, but with metal, and then with a welder. Now, it gives you the opportunity to learn how to do basic welding. And to work with metal. So all you have to do is, ideally, you know, where the place on where the seal is gone, you have to cut the remaining edges of it, clean it with like a proper wire brush, and till you have like proper solid metal. Only weld a new bit of seal into fresh metal. Don't weld in corroded one, otherwise just will contaminate and then it will go through.
Yeah.
It's worse. So this is like the advice I will give you to do. It's just follow that. When you have to do it on your own time, you see, like, it's not a car you need to drive every day. So it's one of those. I will do it. Get an angle grinder, cut the remaining part of the seal to a safe distance, then grind the thing up with a wire wheel till you see that it's proper clean metal. Get a piece of paper, do a molding of the bit you need doing. Buy metal sheet from eBay or from a metal supplier, which is very cheap, like 16 gauge steel sheet, which is easy to get. Get like a scissors to cut metal properly, just to do the molding of a piece of paper, lay it onto it, and then all you have to do is reshape it to what you want to be. And then it's, again, I think it's going to be great fun for you to learn. You're not going to enjoy it that much, I know, but it will work you doing it.
Yeah, because it'll mean once I've learned how to do that, any other bits of the car I can just start stripping off and reworking if they're rusty.
Exactly. So at least then you know the process of doing it. It's like for your own sake, because then if you're talking about replacing seal, it's not going to be cheap. You're going to be like £500-600 into each side. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like if you do it, let's say we're going to spend around what? Well, you spend about the same amount, but that will include a welder.
Yeah.
So then you can do more jobs in the future.
Yeah, or I rent a welder and it's less.
Yeah, exactly. So if you rent a welder, it's less, because in materials it's cheap. All you need to buy, the expensive part is tooling. Tooling is expensive, not the material itself. Metal sheet is going to cost you like 30 quid.
Yeah.
Buy a decent scissor to cut it will cost around 40-50 quid. This is a decent scissor, so you don't want a shit one, because then you cannot cut anything right. A piece of paper, you know how much it costs. So it's all about time. You know, it's like it's something that in your case, like, it's something you enjoy doing. I think you will enjoy the experience of doing it.
Yeah, I definitely. I want to say the idea behind the car. It's not my daily driver anymore. so it can sit there and not be used. So I'd like to get it to a point where it can have a roll cage in it to be a track car. So, you know, there's no time pressure for it other than, you know, making sure it doesn't all go rusty.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's not the time pressure there. So, you know, yeah, it's possible to bring it back. And then at some point I'll have to give it to you for the engine, but
That's the exciting bit.
yeah, 150,000 miles on it. Are you sure you're not going to blow it up?
No, look, the highest mileage one I tuned, and this is the truth, was 225,000 mile engine. And the only reason that engine got replaced is because he hit, how you call it, those things you have on the road. It's not a hole, it's the opposite. It's like on a
Speed
road
bump.
that was doing roadwork. No, it had like a cap, but a big metal cap. How you call it? I forgot the name. Like a drain.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it was
drain cover.
standing up. And when he went over it, he cracked the sump on it. He didn't notice and drove it till the engine ran out of oil. So, but like that's the only reason why that engine got replaced. Because it was losing the oil slowly, like, and he was on a journey somewhere, I don't know. When he came to me, it was already not sounding great. And then we found he had a massive crack on the sump. And well, the engine got replaced, but the engine was 220,000 miles. Now, if you're starting to work it properly, like, it all depends then on the budget you have as well. But my advice on them, if you don't want to do a full rebuild, just refresh the big end bearings, because you're going to start revving it properly. And with 150,000 miles, they're not going to be new.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those. It's just for reliability. Then you can start revving it without worrying about blowing up. Because
Yeah.
if the compression starts going low and stuff like that, it's different. It's never going to blow up. It's just going to start dropping performance.
Yeah.
And I got a good example of that. My 116, it's now 145,000 miles. The road one, like, not the demo car. It's also a demo car, but it's a standard engine with 160 bhp. Not completely standard, right? But it's an opened engine, I'll call it. And I'm feeling now the car is not as edgy as it used to be, because it's getting tired,
Yeah.
it shows. But it's 145,000 miles, so it's like, well, it's done what it's supposed to do. Like that car on 2 months ago, when I was developing all the stages for the tuning on basic engines, it done 48 dyno pulls. 48 dyno pulls.
Wow.
And we're talking, yes, it's like, it's crazy what that engine went through with the mileage it has. And people say they are bad engines. Not quite. There's not such a thing as like a bad engine. There are some that are really bad, but it's not bad. It's just poor maintenance most of the times, and the way they are looked after. Like our one is looked after right. Well, otherwise it wouldn't have been able to do what it did. Now it's feeling tired, but it's normal. It's an engine that does 145,000 miles. Then I decided to turn it into a development mule.
Yeah.
The engine took a lot of beating during this time. So it's all right. I'm quite pleased that it hasn't blown up or hasn't done anything odd. Still drives like it's the car I drive every day. Is it as crisp as it used to be? No. It's a normal car. So like it's going to end up with one of our 1.6 engines on it soon. So I'm not really that worried.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, as long as you look after it right, it's not going to blow up on you.
Yeah. Yeah. How much engine work can you do before you need to start getting into like specialist equipment or
What do you mean,
or have to?
yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Or for anyone who wants to start working on engines.
That's maybe because the way I approach things, that's not the easiest thing to do. Because I'm quite, as I said to you. Like my 116, for example, it still even has the original airbox and air filter. Like what's done, it's all requires specialist equipment apart from the bolting the exhaust on it.
Yeah.
Because all the rest, like the proper performance gains, are on other things. It's not like, how do I put? It's hard to explain. There's like, well, this is a hard question you ask, because I generally don't know. Like, because what's easy to me, it's different from what's going to be easy to you.
Yeah.
Also, because I got all the equipment, I'm trying to think of something you can do that you don't need equipment. And besides doing basic stuff, I cannot really see how you can do it, because you need a specialist equipment for most of it. You see, that's the problem. Yeah. And like on the performance side, it becomes even more crucial. It's not like especially for M44s, like they're bolt-ons I can sell you and you can install. We got an upgraded intake manifold for them, like not even our full singing and dancing one like we have on the Z3s. We have now a new version of it, which is more user-friendly, which you could go and fit yourself. It will take you about half an hour, and voila, you have a different intake. But then the other things to go with it to really make it work, it will require specialist equipment. We're talking about changing the cams, which is like, you wouldn't be able to do it without any equipment. You'll just look at them like, yeah, that's fine. It fits in. It's not like, even to me, that like still takes around 1.5 to 2 hours to fit them.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is, if you ever decide to go to it, if you buy them, I offer the fitting on them. So I think it's decent. Yeah. It doesn't cost you any more if you buy the cams on itself, or if I install it for you.
So, so you can't really do anything without specialist equipment. Where would you start if you wanted to start engine work and you wanted to open up and have a look and start changing stuff? What would be the first things that you would look at, and what would you need to do that?
In terms of performance, or in terms of like preparing for performance?
Let's go for both.
For both, okay. So first thing you will do is prepare the engine for performance. As I said, 157 or 150,000 mile engine, I will replace the big end bearings. Like, it's something you could do, yeah, you could, but you need there's a few things you need to get. Like, you can get everything you want, but then there's procedures you have to do when you've installed big end bearings on an engine. Which, like, it's not hard, but like, it will take you quite a lot of time, and then it has to be a really, really, really clean environment. So you are out on the drive. We on a day that it all of a sudden gets windy, and all of a sudden you have your engine covered with dust inside. That's not great.
Yeah.
So when you're talking on performance, and like when you have to open engine and stuff, you really have to think like the environment where you're going to be working in order to make it safe for the engine and to still be reliable, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And most things on an engine, you will always need specialist equipment. As you know, it's not like you could not, you cannot do much with, there's not much you can do, without having specialist equipment on an engine work.
Yeah.
You see, that is the main thing.
Yeah, no, I guess just the one limitation of cars. You could do everything else but the engine, really, with a decent spanner set.
Maintenance you can all do. It's not hard, but like when you're talking about changing more like specialist things, it's not as easy. There's a lot of things that you need to have. So that's the thing on it.
Cool. Right. I think we've gone on for nearly 2 hours now. Should we wrap this up?
That's it.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. Well, I'd love to carry on talking to you about cars, but this is already 2 hours long, or an hour and a half because I forgot to start recording. So,
Yeah.
little bit of quick fire questions to get to know you, Bruno, a little bit more personally.
Yeah.
Are you ready for? Well, I know some of them, but some of them I'll just have to come up with off the top of my head. Okay.
Okay.
What is your favorite flavor of crisps?
Crisps. I love. I really like sour cream and onion.
Yes, I love. Yeah, good choice. Good choice there. What's your favorite chocolate bar?
Oh my god, chocolate! I love chocolate, but it has to be dark chocolate, like 72% or some 70%, something like. I love dark chocolate, and the Lindt dark chocolates are really good, like proper, like dark chocolate. And
Yeah.
mint dark chocolate, I love as well. You know, it's just
Slightly
dark chocolate is
controversial.
very good. Yeah,
Tea or coffee?
tea.
Tea.
I get too hype if I drink coffee, and it cannot be black tea, the usual black tea. It has to be like a green tea or chamomile tea, something that is relaxing. Because I'm very, how you call it? I'm already very energetic and edgy. So you give me something that gives me energy, it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
going to have a bad result.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that going wrong very quickly.
Yeah. So
Uh,
no, it's I tend to stay away from it.
What's your favorite song right now?
I don't listen to music that much. I do, but it's just like the background noise. Very, very hard question, that one, to me, because I don't listen to radio or stuff or things. Like if you do a journey with me, it's going to be boring for some people because I never very rarely put the radio on.
Do you just listen to the car
I don't
on
know.
long journeys?
Yeah, yeah. I believe me or not, I drove to Portugal a few years ago with no radio. So it's a 20 hour plus journey with no radio. And I was fine with it. Doesn't bother me. So
No, that's fair enough then. What's your favorite movie?
I have a few movies I really like.
Okay, we can do top three.
Now this is going to be now a revelation for most people because they don't see me that way. I like really. I love comedy movies, but I also love romance movies. I'm a bit of a romantic guy with the message, which is I find for most people. Right. There's a movie I really like. I don't care like to what people think of it, but I like it. It's a personal thing, which is The Notebook. Now, comedy, a movie I fucking love. It's how you call it? Twins, I think. It's not twins. Step Brothers.
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers.
Yes,
That's it.
with Will Ferrell, isn't it? Yeah.
Ferrell, yeah, and Grown Ups too, or first or second. I love Grown Ups. It's
Oh,
amazing.
they're so funny. They're so stupid, but they're really funny at the same time.
You know, the worst part is realistic at points that you think like, oh my days. Oh my god. So that's it. I leave those three, and I cannot think of any other thing. People are like, oh, so no car movies? No, because there's no one movie missing. Senna, amazing,
Senna.
amazing, amazing. 3 movies there. Okay, it says 4, but take one of them.
That's fine.
Take whichever movie. Senna has to be there because that movie was just something else.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that as well. That was, yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I grew up watching VHS tapes of Senna versus Mansell and Senna versus Prost. So to have something in high definition about Senna was really cool.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different. And do you know what I love the most about it is the progression of the movie. It's so detailed. It makes you feel a part of it.
Yeah.
There's no way you cannot feel attached to what's going on, and it gets to points that it's extremely emotional on the movie. It's like it touches you on the right spots. That it's not even to do with the cars. This is all to do with the passion that men have to succeed and to be the best at what he did. Nothing else. It's like that's the part that will move anyone, regardless if it's cars, whatever it is. In this case, was cars. And it's all to do with that. It's ultimately the passion, how far he was moved by his passion to what he did.
Yeah, brilliantly said. I think it's probably the perfect place to end. Bruno, it's been amazing. Thank you for all your insight, all your knowledge.
No problem at all.
Yeah, and
it has been a great time.
So before we go, tell everyone what you're up to, your business, how to find you, anything that you're offering. This is your time to talk to anyone who wants to watch.
Okay, so, well, as people know, like motorsport development, so we offer development for any engine like people want to do, not only BMW and Porsche. Currently, we are even doing some work on some Nissan cylinder heads. Cylinder head porting is really like the point we focus quite a lot. We have quite a lot of custom parts available. We can also get custom parts made for cylinder heads if required, or engine components, which we also have now our lineup of pistons, con rods, valves, valve springs, caps, like all those sort of goodies. Our location, it's in Kettering, so it's close to Northampton, so it's Northamptonshire. And if people want to find me, like, unfortunately, the postcode never takes anyone there. All they have to do is put BDS Motorsport on Google, and you will end up right on the entrance of the road that takes to the workshop. In terms of any other inquiries or people want to follow my work, all they have to do is go on Instagram and search for BDS_Motorsport. We also have a YouTube channel, which is BDS Motorsport. If people want to follow the work we've done previously, they have to find the same, but it's instead of Motorsport, they just have to type in BDS Performance on the channel or on the Instagram page. And that's it. BDS Performance. I got Adidas. Not sponsored. Not sponsored. Paid for. Paid for. So
perfect. Yeah,
brilliant. It's a Sunday today.
Yeah. I'll put all the links below so that everyone can find where you're at and all your social media and everything. Once again, Bruno, amazing to have you. Thank you very much, and we'll catch up soon.
No worries. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Don't you see I'm shy? 'Cause when I